general proposals are. And if you really like something that someone else wrote, you can give them a thumbs up. If you have hesitations or concerns that might need to be addressed during the subcommittees, you can also voice those as well. But it's just a little silly test question to get us started.
You need to scan. We're going to do this activity.
All right, I'm going to call the task force back to order, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Blakely O'Connor on Women's Foundation of Alabama team. We thought it would be great to try to do something interactive so that we could all see, but also so the virtual audience can see the work of the task force happening. So Blakely is going to give you some insights on how to do that. And then Blakely is also going to facilitate the next activity to really help us hone in on the areas we want to focus on, the areas we want to really get into making some formal recommendations around. So this is sort of our honing phase, if you're following sort of the structure of the conversation today. So Blakely?
Yes, please, to participate in this activity, please visit polev.com/WFWG Task Force 405, or you can scan the QR code on the presentation. We'll give just another moment or two to get everyone logged in. And we have a test question just to demonstrate the functionality of the activity. So what is the best candy or candy bar? In this platform, you can enter your responses. We'll be able to save those later. And in addition to entering those responses, you can upvote or downvote other people's responses. You can imagine as we start to move through this activity, there's two questions that we're going to be focusing on. One is about which recommendations we should prioritize. We've heard lots of lovely ideas from everyone in the task force. We're going to write those down again in your own words if you've brought things to the table, and then upvote them. So is everybody comfortably in? Have they responded to the candy bar question?
Almond Joy wins.
It currently does have the most upvotes. If I were participating, it might have a down vote.
It's like it's a tie with Reese's.
It is. Well, so what else? Oh, yeah, there's a duplicate response for Reese's. Okay.
Nice.
But this is the idea, and we'll be able to show these. Oh, there's double Snickers. So we'll be able to capture all of these, and then because they're all written down in your voice, we'll be able to distribute these to the subcommittees moving forward.
So Blakely, are you telling us that in the response section, that is where we as members of the task force are going to type the recommendations that we've discussed today that are that rank the highest on our list? Is that what you're asking us to do? Okay. Is that clear?
What questions do we have?
So we want to bullet point or basically 1, 2, 3 within that one box.
Just one answer per box, and then we'll be able to vote on each one. So in this example, so which potential recommendations should the task force include? One idea per response, so people can respond.
Respond as many times.
You can respond as many times as you would like. If you would like to enter one and give it a moment to see what else people are saying, they may also say the same thing. If it's a duplicate, if we have a duplication, like in the Snickers example, we will be able to correct those on the back end when we tally the final results. But hopefully by doing this visually, we'll be able to collect all of those ideas and then also get a sense of their popularity among the task force. Perfect. Y'all are doing already. Great job. And what I'm going to do when I see duplicates, I'm going to archive one so it won't be in this visual, so it won't be in the final list.
we don't have to wordsmith.
No, no wordsmith, just the,
Like I can say what Jenna said.
now, if you just say what Jenna said, I might not remember, but so it can be high level category of topic.
Okay.
And if Jenna says something and you like what Jenna said, then you can upvote it after she says it. So right now we have child care tax incentives, ban salary history, equal pay audit, pay transparency, increased minimum wage, sufficient childcare in rural and all communities, disclose gender pay gap for companies with 300 employees, and pay audit. I'm going to archive that one since we had pay audit above.
Oh, you may announce that. Clicking that helps you download what people are saying, because I didn't know that until just now.
Oh, yes. So if you're, we've got them presented on the screen, but you can also download more responses as they come in on your phone. There's like a little yellow tab at the top that says load more responses. I got apprenticeships. Another vote for pay transparency for those companies over 300. Runway for benefits cliffs.
Clarifying question. Jenna, this may be to you, or Representative Clark, this may be to you, but some of the conversation around pay transparency, ban the salary question, aren't all of those amendments that could happen in one, like to the current statute? They don't have to all travel, well, it's a question separately.
I think you could amend the current statute to reflect those changes. Pay transparency is a little bit, I want to make sure that a lot of states have handled pay transparency differently. They've handled it where they call it full pay transparency, which means that if there's a posting, on the posting, it talks about what the pay will be, the salary range. Other states have done it differently so that they require at the time an offer is made to produce the pay salary scale. So they do it, there are some nuances within the different states as to what pay transparency means and when that transparency is triggered. I will note, though, that one of the challenges we have is the way our government is structured with respect to equal pay acts for claims of discrimination versus what other states do. Many states have a civil rights commission or a state-run commission that receives complaints of discrimination separate and apart from their federal counterpart that is the EEOC. We don't have such an animal. I'm not recommending that we implement that. I will say that I also am concerned about putting any additional burdens on our Alabama Department of Labor in interacting with them. They are overwhelmed, I believe. My fear is if you're looking for sort of a watchdog entity within the state, I think our structure, the way the state of Alabama is set up, it is not currently set up that way. Whereas other states do have that mechanism that we do not have.
So we're seeing currently a lot of recommendations coming in around ways to address the wage gap, some around addressing those workforce supports like childcare. If there are any other ideas around addressing barriers to workforce participation or other ideas in that area that you want to see included, please enter them now. And if you're done adding your recommendations, if you want to scroll through that list and give upvotes to the ones that that you would also like to support, please do so.
I'd like to acknowledge Ashley Smith she's a legislative attorney from our Legislative Services Agency. Ashley drafted the Equal Pay Bill and the revisions to it back in 2019. And I'd like for her to respond. You asked whether this could be done in one WOP. Our recommendations could be a single amendment or several. Ashley, what do you think? And can we give you the mic?
Mike.
Thank you. You can do it all in one amendment. I would say you may want to consider if there are some amendments that you think are more favorable than the others.
That's
Isn't that
You know, you may want to strategically consider putting certain amendments together and maybe this one separately. That's what a lot of times what people do when they're afraid that, you know, you may have 6 provisions that you want to put in, but you know, these 2 maybe are unfavorable. So you put 4 provisions over here and then you do a separate amendment just in case those other 2 don't pass, and then you don't have anything. If you don't get all 6, then you don't get any, as opposed to we just did these 2 alone and we got those 2 in, but not the other 4, if that makes sense.
That makes, we got some seasoned lobbyists around this table, so that makes perfect sense. Thank you. But statutorily, there's nothing precluding any of that from going in one bill if the legislature wanted to do it that way. I'm
As long as it doesn't violate the single subject rule, you're good.
good. Perfect. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. And thank you all for your responses on this question. Does anyone need any more time?
Have one clarifying question. So our recommendations, do we anticipate?
Will you let him pass the mic, please? Yeah, I'm a little hard of hearing you all.
Do we anticipate that our recommendations will be like in the form of a memo, or would we need to sketch out what the legislation might look like?
So what we are going to do is merely put together a white paper, more or less, on sort of capturing the historical context of this task force. And then we're going to capture what shakes out as the overall policy recommendations. So some of us have been a part of many legislative task forces, so we're going to follow that same. But we will do, now, once this is out and the advocates want to come on board and start sketching out, you know, legislative strategy and members of the legislature, but we are just putting out an objective recommendation around opportunities to the legislature. Does that help? Yep.
It's a good question.
Yes, it is. And we will capture what we've learned, some of the stats. So we will capture what we've been all doing together, and our team will craft that and then take everything that you all are pulling together now and put that in. And then we will all sign, one second. We will all sign off on that before I just got the mic pulled from me. That has never happened.
No, I was like,
But that will all happen before it goes public.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I was like, in my head, I was
Lily's like,
thinking
I'm in
about
the
what I'm
zone.
about to say. I'm so sorry. But speaking to that, after this next question, we're going to form those subcommittees who will start to draft what Melanie has been speaking about, the outlines of what those draft recommendations will be. And in order to inform that subcommittee formation, we'll think about what focus areas we want to organize around. But just a quick recap of what we're seeing here in this poll of a very large support for banning salary history, childcare tax incentives. I think this is a similar statement for banning that salary history question and adding defense to the equal pay statute. increasing pay transparency by requiring reporting.
I have a question. The child care tax incentives, is that this concept around the Maryland revolving loan fund? Like whoever typed child care tax incentives?
The short answer is yes.
Okay, because then I want to vote for it if that's what it is. Yeah.
I just didn't know how much, like,
How detailed.
kind of detail.
Yeah. Well, maybe if there's a question, let's agree, just like I did, to get some clarification, particularly before we cast a vote, be sure that that is what we are talking about there. Perfect.
And I think where the intent of this is just to also see what broad categories these recommendations might fall under, moving into where we're going to form these
All the response.
subcommittees to dig a little bit deeper.
And then just tap.
So if you like it, hit thumbs up.
Oh,
Or if you don't
thumbs
want
up,
it, or
okay.
thumbs down. Yes, ma'am. I love it. The enforcer. Gotta have one.
Thank you.
So we're seeing a lot of these around how to address the pay gap. There are a few around that education and training in terms of apprenticeships as well as workforce supports like childcare.
Where is the education and training? I don't see it.
I was sort of bucketing into this apprenticeship as an example of something that I could see falling under that category. I don't see currently represented, I know earlier we were talking about those exposure to different career paths. If you
So I put it in
failed to
there.
add that.
It's called Increased State Investments in Programs that Address Occupational Segregation.
excellent.
That is what that means.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say,
Refresh it.
but
And
I
so-
don't have the little yellow bar.
Oh, yeah, you should, it should be at the top
There you go.
if you're refreshed. That's what that was in reference to.
Gotcha.
The occupational segregation was when we were talking about programs around STEM or whatever to get folks to go into high-paying careers or better-paying careers.
Excellent. And I think that give just a few more minutes to add up votes to those. But I think that this is really great. We'll share the results of this and send it back out. I'll consolidate any that are duplicative. But ultimately, this will serve as a reference for the subcommittees when they start to organize around these topics. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next question, which is about how we should organize those subcommittees. We've heard from the group a lot of ideas around wages and how to improve and strengthen the equal pay law. Some ideas around education and training, ending occupational segregation, increasing awareness of STEM and other workforce opportunities, as well as generally workforce support. So what are those barriers that may be keeping women from participating in the workforce, like access to childcare or paid family leave? And so when you think about how you would want to see the subcommittees organized, these subcommittees are ultimately going to dig a little bit deeper in these topics. And so just add your ideas for these, and we'll just get a general sense of where the consensus is falling, and then I'll turn it back over to Melanie to form those committees. I think given the size of the task force, we're probably looking at 2 to 3 subcommittees max, any more than we might have individual member subcommittees.
So it looks like wages, which is great because the name of the task force is wage gap. So yay, glad that one won. And then education and training and childcare. So there was I put in a generic one around workforce supports, but it looks like childcare specifically is so big, we don't even want to do workforce supports. We want to get on into the meat, which I love because that's whittling down so that we can get super laser focused for our recommendations. So if that sounds good, we will organize ourselves around wages. So that seems to be findings 1 and 2 that we covered earlier. Education and training, which really lends itself to finding 3, and then childcare, which lends itself to finding 4. Does that sound good to everybody? Okay, perfect. And then we're going to cover the timeline in just a moment, but we would love for just to be sure that there is transparency, that folks have had an opportunity to go back to your own teams or community leaders. You know, we definitely want community voice and other folks that you find valuable to this conversation to be engaged. So we would love to have the subcommittees meet at some point over the next, would it be 3 to 4 weeks? Yes, and we will be staffing you, so please know whatever you're asked to chair or do, you will have a supreme group of people surrounding you. And I lost footage here, so
Oh.
I don't know if everybody else did. But I am going to ask, thank you, and how do I get back to because I'm trying to move us to this conversation around the committees. There we go. So education, training, childcare, wages. So be thinking about which one you want to serve on. And then before we get to that point, I would love to have some volunteers to chair the subcommittee. And again, everybody will be supported by the fantastic team of Women's Foundation of Alabama.
I'm happy to help with wages.
Okay, Jenna Betzold, chairing wages. Look at there. Thank you, Kendra. Kendra Key to chair the child care. Say that 3 times fast.
And I'll be happy to handle education and training.
Okay, and education and training. I forget your last name, Foster. Amanda Foster. So now we're going to capture, if you guys want to just tell us what committees you think you best fit on or would most want to support. We want this to be a process that you really enjoy thoroughly. So wherever your expertise lies, that's where we want to put you.
Wages or education.
So Mike is wages, Dr. Yates.
Education and training.
Oh, education training, Dr. Yates, love that. Thank you, Dr. Warwick. I can't decide. I'm going to serve on like all of them. But I think I will put me down for childcare / wages. I'll pop in on both.
Yeah, interested in childcare.
Okay, Dr. Warwick will do. Yes, and you can certainly serve on more than one. We just want to protect your calendars, but yes, that'd be great if you can. Oh yes, Representative Lovin on. Uh-oh, we're missing one. We get to assign him where we want him to go, Representative Witt. Yes.
Yeah, wages.
All right. What about you, Representative?
Wherever I'm needed, you want to see where there's a shortfall?
I
Did
think,
everybody else get to sign?
I think
up
everybody's
for volunteer?
assigned.
Okay, let me
Where
make
do
sure.
we have the fewest number of people?
Looks like we're.
You were torn. Who else was education? I have Foster, Yates, or
Warwick. And then
who's on childcare? You want to do
Kendra-
T? Yeah.
Kendra Warwick. And
Did you get Representative Lovren for childcare?
and then Bridgeforth / Bunning. And, oh, we will reach out to get Dr. Woodford has signed, and I
And
think
so
that's,
wages currently
I bet
has,
you'll want wages.
we can temporarily,
Betzelwood is the wages that is the shortest
well,
staffed.
great, wage gap. Could we put you on wages
Sure.
subcommittee? Great.
And where'd you put Dr. Wolford?
I'm going to reach out to her. We're going to pencil her in
I
wages
think she'd be, yeah.
and then just confirm.
But yes.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Okay, now let me get back to my notes. So we could do a couple things. We could break out and you all could start having some conversations right now, or at least get yourselves organized, maybe look at your calendars. And then we could convene a little, reconvene a little earlier and actually go home a little earlier.
Dr. Wolford.
Okay, wages is our number one, Dr. Wolfers. Everybody is spoken for.
So who's on the wage committee?
Yes, would you, Blakely, holler out everybody that's serving?
You're not. I didn't
I want, put me on wages.
You want wages,
Got it.
Mike. So who's on education and?
So my list now for education is Yates, Foster, and Warwick. Childcare is Key, Warwick, Laverne, Bridgeforth. And then wages is Bedsell, Wood, Clark, Woodford, and Pullis.
Does that accurately capture everybody? Good? Okay. So we could, as I was saying, just give you all a little bit of time to break out, maybe set your meetings, what you want to accomplish over the next couple of weeks, when you want to meet, how you want to meet, and we have no care or nor concern except how can we help. And then we can come back together and maybe try to wrap up a little earlier if you all want, or we did schedule enough time today for the committees to really start to do some deeper conversation. I think the conversation has been so robust today, you may not find that you have anything extra to say, but it is your call. I am just here to preside over your wishes. So you tell me, would you like to just break out and do some organizational type conversation on when you're going to meet next? Okay, so let's do that. And for the purposes of those attending with us virtually, we will cut the conversation here with the video, and then we will resume that in the next 10 minutes.
Melanie, what's the deadline for, I'm a lawyer, so I need a
Yes, I know, I
deadline.
love
So
it.
tell me
I love
what the
it.
deadline is for us to meet.
So all comments, we would need all comments from the subcommittees by November 14th. November 14th. He's on wages.
When are y'all meeting? Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
Woodford. Best conversation. It's great. That's what we want to hear. So I'm going to wrap us up first by thanking each and every one of you for traversing to Montgomery to be a part of this very important work. Just a few reminders now that everyone's under the tutelage of Amanda and Kendra and Jenna. So all the committees have been assigned. So that's a big part of the work that's already happening. I believe each of you has already set your next convening, and this is for the benefit of those who are paying attention and following us virtually. I want to be as transparent as possible. And so I know those dates are set. Just a couple of final sort of reminders that we hope and know that you all will meet in advance of our next meeting. Again, we want the recommendations from your subcommittees in writing by November 14th, which is a Monday, and those will go to Rachel Bunning, who has been sending out emails on my behalf, so you should have her information. And we will share everything from today with the committee chairs. Why don't we do that? We'll share it with everybody, but we'll be sure that you all have it first and foremost, so that you can see sort of some of the rankings and the voting and how that sort of played out. I just want to make a specific reminder that we have and are very lucky to have Ashley Smith with LSA to support any subcommittee on, like the question I asked, hey, Ashley, can you combine different things in the statute? She knows all of that kind of stuff. And can answer any specific question you have around, we're thinking about this recommendation, but we really don't know how it would look in statute. Can you help us with that? She is the person to go to. Or we think this is going to cost money. Can you tell us what that would look like? And does that go in an appropriations bill, or does that, you see what I'm saying? So any question you have, just go straight to Ashley. And she has told me that email is best. And so we want to email, not call Ashley, so that she can best support us. And we will send all of this out, but her email is asmith@lsa.state.al.us. And we will email that out as well. Also, we are so grateful to Bernard Houston with DHR and others who have agreed to join any of the subcommittees. So our team can provide you all contact information if there's any subject matter experts you want to talk, Linda Smith, others you want to bring in. We are happy to try to invite them back to your subcommittee meetings. We would just need to know that in the next 48 hours so that we can get them invited to your meetings. So please pull on others in your community and subject matter experts to help you fine tune. And the last thing is just a reminder about our final meeting dates. We will meet November 18th. And that's where we will review the first draft of the recommendations, which is why we're asking you to get those into us by November 14th at noon so that we can get you something in that meeting to actually digest. And then we will meet December 13th, 2022, and that's when we will officially vote on the final recommendations that will go to members of the Alabama legislature.
And both those final meetings, those last two meetings are virtual.
So that is a question that I do have. We had set those up as virtual. We love to host in Birmingham, so we would love to have you all come to Birmingham, and we'd love to host you if you want to do one of those in person, but it is up to you all. Do you have a preference? Is virtual easier? Or would you like at least one of those meetings to be in person?
It's up to the,
Any strong feelings? Okay,
Birmingham is easier than Montgomery.
okay,
for me.
okay, okay. So then why don't would you rather do the November or the December in person? If we do an in-person in Birmingham, and we are happy to host and facilitate that, would you rather do that in November or would you rather do that in December?
what's the
Date
date?
in December.
It's December 13th on a Tuesday.
Well, December, because that's when we're voting.
Okay? So that's what we will do. If there's no strong objections, we will do the November meeting virtually, and we will do the December meeting in person in Birmingham, and all that information will come out to you in the next 48 hours.
Can you make it hybrid, because I won't be in?
We can definitely, yep, we can do that.
I'll need that too.
Yep, we'll do that. And if it turns out that most people are going to be virtual, we'll just do virtual. How about that? But that's how we'll end this, is that we're going to be together at the end of the year in December to vote, and then at the November meeting, we will do it virtually. And then subcommittees are going to meet in the next couple of weeks and have those recommendations to Rachel Bunning by November 14th at noon. Any questions or final thoughts? Well, I'm going to close out my part, but I always like to end with Representative Clark.
I was just thinking, my final thought is great meeting. Great minds. Thank you all so much for serving on this task force. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you and to listen and learn from you. And I look forward to our next two meetings and wish you safe travels back home and look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Good luck.